What's up, everybody? This is episode 103 of Hoops Talk with Dave's Joint. Shout outs to everybody that's been supporting us thus far. For those who haven't seen any of our episodes, go check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and IGTV. But before we start, let us give a shout out to our sponsors, the Players Circle, an interactive app that deals with merch, hoodies, highlights, pictures, and whatever. If you ever want to go check it out on the App Store. It's called the Players Circle. But without further ado, we have a very special guest tonight. She is one of the best high school girls basketball players to come out of Newark, New Jersey. She has a famous brother that played in the NBA for a stint, Iasia Briscoe. But she also played Division I basketball at Georgia Tech and Syracuse University. And now she's the CEO of Lady Eye Massage. Definitely check her out, guys. Tonight, we have with us Miss Iasia Hemingway. Iasia, thank you for coming on to share your story.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Indeed.
I really appreciate it.
Indeed. So, let's start from the very beginning. Well, you were a coach, so let me ask you this. What's Iasia Hemingway's coaching philosophy?
Okay, so when I was coaching, I was more of a press coach. I'm like straight like press and go. I'm a transition coach. It's one of those things where I'm a bully player, so it's bully ball. if you gonna get it, we're gonna make it hard for you. So when it came down to me coaching, it was all about pressing and trapping and making sure they stay away from the basket as far as possible.
So let's start from the very beginning. When did basketball first start for you?
Ooh, I was in the 5th grade, going into the 6th. I was actually a cheerleader first.
Wow.
Always been yeah. Always been very girly, but aggressive at the same time. So when I was in the 5th grade, my gym teacher, he told me I was too tall to be a cheerleader and I needed to try to play basketball. Long story short, I ended up picking up a basketball. And I fell in love with the fact that I was stronger than most of the guys my age because I was bigger than them. So that was my way. That was my way of taking advantage of, the guys that was, when you're young, a lot of the guys try to pick on you and talk about you. So that was my way of beating them up. So I ended up.
Wow, that's big right there. You got that physical advantage. You can also fight them too.
Yeah, this is true. At the time, now no, but at the time when we was in the 5th, 6th grade, we grew a little faster than the guys. You guys don't start sparking until y'all get to high school. So at that time, yeah, I definitely had a big advantage.
So talk about growing up in Newark, New Jersey, and what's the basketball culture like over there?
Growing up back when I was playing, it was everything. My father, he basically ran the whole Westwood for basketball to the point where he put together a little basketball traveling team. And we used to travel all across, the tri-state area just to play. We stayed outside. You know how it is. You're from New York. We stayed outside hooping. But my father owned the gym, so it was kind of simple for me. Yeah, my father, we had a gym since I was in the 6th, 7th grade, and Zay was only like in the first. No, Zay was only like 2 years old, 3 years old, watching me train. Watching me train. So my father loved basketball. So that, and actually he's my stepfather, but he raised me. So when I mean it's so different now compared to how it was, which is why I got into massaging, because a lot of the times, a lot of the kids don't know how big it is in terms of, self-care when it comes to being an athlete. And being from a urban community, a lot of them don't even know about massages. You know what I mean? They don't know about taking care of your body, but they want to go outside and they want to constantly play ball. They want to do. So when it comes to the fundamental parts of the game and when it comes to self-care in terms of making sure you're healthy, that's kind of my platform and why I got into the business.
Indeed. So talk about, growing up with Isaiah. What was the kind of like even though you're a few years older than him, What was it like, you know, with him being taught by your dad and you?
So the crazy thing is, I really I didn't do a lot of teaching. I did a lot of talking because I was in college. So I already had my career. My career was already starting before I can really, do, I only, how can I say it? My actions show him compared to, me teaching him. I showed him what it is he had to do. And and when he called me or reach out when I was in Georgia or Syracuse, I would give him, words of encouragement. I would give him the confidence that he needs. He would talk to me about how daddy being annoying. You know what I mean? So I kind of created a platform to make it not necessarily easy, but to make him, understand that it's a process and it don't happen overnight. So I left to go to college, and Isaiah was only in the like 6th, 7th grade. You know what I mean? So a lot of the times it was always my actions. My actions prove, show. Like I was the first All-American. I'm in the Hall of Fame. I was back-to-back Player of the Year. So he had a how can I say? He had some tough shoes to fill.
Yeah.
Like I did, yes. I couldn't get it out, but yeah, he had some tough shoes to fill, and he did that, and he killed it. So I just look back and I'm like, you know what? I did my part as the oldest sister, because in all actuality, basketball really wasn't for me. I think basketball just put me in a position to do what I really love, which is massaging. And God knows I hate school. So for me to understand the body, I had to really, play ball and hurt certain parts of my body to understand and appreciate it a little more. So it's a whole story behind this. You hear me? In terms of how I got to where I am today. And it definitely starts with my father.
Rest in peace to the late George Briscoe. That was my guy.
The legendary. Yes. Yes.
So what AAU teams did you play in when you were younger?
The Gauchos. It's so crazy. Because I was with the New Jersey Flames. And because we didn't really know about AAU like that, so we stayed local. We did local stuff. And I didn't realize how good I was. I want to say I didn't play AAU to my last summer.
So you only played. Wow.
Yeah, my junior year.
Wow.
Yeah, I played 1 year at AAU, like real AAU. I was playing the little local leagues, paying to play in this league, that league that was in the area, but no college coaches ever seen me play. So I played for the Gauchos. Manti Algernon tried to get me to come over there my freshman year, but like I said, we was new to this. I was the first one. So my father was like, no, we're going to stay here. We loyal. We're going to stay with the Flames. But I wasn't really getting no recognition. You know what I mean? Like I was 125 the beginning of the summer. I played AAU and I finished top 20 in one summer. Nobody's doing that.
Yo, that's crazy right there. To go from 125 to 120. Yo, that's amazing.
No. 125 to top 20. Yeah. I was 125 in the country and I finished top 20.
That's big right there. So, talk about some local tournaments that you like playing in as a kid.
I love the Springfield League. That was with Zoo Crew, which is, they still around. They still in Newark. I don't know if they no longer have the Springfield League. And then my dad, United Community Corporation. That was my father was like the one of the top dogs in the company. So he used to put tournaments together at Westside Park. But so it was always UCC versus Zoo Crew. So it was always like a Newark rival, UCC versus Zoo Crew. So I would definitely say Springfield and Westside Park. Those was the two best leagues when I was younger.
I gotta go see the Zoo Crew this summer. I'm hoping that the permits are up so I can go check out a game. I've heard so much about the Zoo Crew, but I never got to see it live and direct.
Yeah, Zoo Crew's amazing. Like I can't say anything negative about them. I love Malik and I love OG. They do such an amazing job with the babies. So I'm big. Like anybody that called me, because I'm not really training and stuff right now, but anyone who calls me about, development, Malik and OG are the two that I will definitely I vouch for in terms of, programs that's going on in Newark.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
So what led you to go to Shabazz?
Shani Baraka, rest in peace. She passed away. I want to say going into my freshman year, but she was recruiting me heavy. And then met T. Algernon, who was at Rutgers, who was also an All-American from Shabazz. She kind of was my motivation. Like I always looked up to Matty. She was one of the best players in the country. And why not follow suit? You know what I mean? People used to talk so bad about Shabazz because it was in the hood, but they had they was the top school in the state at the time. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm one of the top players and I'm not scared of competition. Always had that thought process. I was always a competitor at heart. So I went over there because of Matty, and because they was one of the best teams, and Shani was mad down to earth. So yeah. And I was sick when Shani passed away. I was sick. Granted, I love Coach Watson. I'm not saying, but Shani was the assistant at the time, and that's who was recruiting me.
Wow, yeah. That's crazy. I mean, you had some really good times at Shabazz. I remember, I guess, your junior year and your senior year, you won the TOC?
No, my junior year, we went 33-0, and I was MVP. So I got player of the year that year, 33-0 my junior year. And then my senior year, they disqualified us. So I got player of the year in the state, but I didn't play in the state.
All right. First, before we go into your senior year, let's talk about your junior year. Like, how did it feel going undefeated and winning the TOC?
It was interesting. One, because we just came off of a bad season. My freshman year, we won. My sophomore year, we didn't do so well. So my junior year, I think we was all hungry. But it was definitely a roller coaster because you're talking about women, little girls trying to figure it out. So we definitely hit a couple of bumps in the road in the locker room. But I think that's what made us so much stronger because we never took our problems from the locker room to the court. And because we always had conversations about what was going on, that's how we kept our solid foundation. Like we stayed close. Like we didn't have nobody can come in between what we had going on because any problems or anything that we had going on, we settled them in the locker room. And I think a lot of the times the girls nowadays need to understand that that's a part of the game. And that's what makes your team better. And if we didn't go through that, I don't think we would have went 33-0. So everybody thinking, granted we was all good, but the ugly part is why we won. The ugly part is why we went 33-0 because we learned how to adjust and not allow it to get on. And Coach Watson played a big part in that too because she was holding us accountable to fix it. Come on, we from the hood, we in an urban community. We could get into a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? And here we are, just playing basketball, but dealing with, a girl liking another girlfriend or whatever the case may be. It could be the smallest thing.
Regular girl drama.
Right, drama. And it can really interfere with your game on the court. But because we didn't allow it is why. And it was the best feeling. And people always ask, like, when y'all went 30-0, like, how does that feel? It was a roller coaster, but it was definitely worth it. Because we all had one thing in common, regardless of how we looked at it. We had one thing in common. We said, can't nothing come in between us and that championship. And because we all had that same thought process, regardless of what we dealt with in between them, it never interfered with our goal.
So, all right, let's go to the summer where you play with the Chos, your lone summer on the AAU circuit. Talk about that experience.
That was the best experience in my life because you gotta understand, I was with Maya Moore and me and her played the same position. You know what I mean? So I didn't know about Maya Moore. I didn't know about Gentel Lavender and Gentel Lavender, that's one of my really good friends to this day. But I didn't really know about them because they've been on the circuit all these years. Here I am coming, I'm a newbie. and I'm scoring 15 and 10, and they're trying to figure out who is she. You know what I mean? So when I was out there, I was just playing because I love the game, and my father was right there the whole time. You know, he was he was the driver. You know how it go.
Yeah.
You know how it go. My father coached me at Shabazz too, actually.
Wow.
He was an assistant. Yep, my father was on my hip the whole time during my whole process of me trying to fit. Yes. Yep. So I went and I was just playing. I just was having fun. I wasn't caring about the rates. I wasn't caring about who is who. I just wanted to play ball. And the fact that I was getting on planes and I was going to play in different states. I'm used to playing in my backyard on the number blocks. Like, you know what I mean? You taking me out the hood, you putting me out here for explosion, and there's college coaches watching me play. I ain't never think about no scholarship. I was just playing because I loved it. And I went to Nike Nationals. And Nike Nationals, I was the number one player in scoring and the number one player in rebounds. And that's how I ended up being a Nike All-American. Because I went there and I did, I killed them. Like I demolished them. They was like, who is this girl? And that's when they start calling me Baby Barkley. Because I was an undersized post.
For those, I'm sorry, Iasia. For those that don't know, Nike Nationals is the girls' equivalent to what Peach Jam is. And for many years, they were in the same site. Riverview Park Athletic Center in North Augusta, South Carolina, where that hot ass weather during the summer.
And that hot gym.
Yes. Okay? Well, when I went, they had the air conditioners blowing. So it was an igloo at times, but yeah, going outside it was crazy.
Well, what year was that?
2016.
Oh,
so
yeah,
5 years ago.
Yeah, we're talking about back in 2006, 2005.
Yeah,
we was in heat.
Wow.
We ain't had nice gyms like that. They was on that was actually Nike National first year. My year, yes, that was their first year. Yep. No. That was the first. I'm sorry. That was the first year the Gauchos. I want to say because the Gauchos got a picture of me in the gym because I was the first one who I was the first player from the Gauchos who was the number one person who was I was the only All-American, the only Nike All-American. Yep, because before me, Matt T was an Adidas. Yep. So, I'm old.
Wait, so Matisse, were you on the varsity as a freshman too?
Yeah.
And what? Also, they want. So you were there the year that they beat Patterson Eastside.
Yes.
Wow. So you got 2 TOC championships. That's amazing.
I should have had 3, but I ain't gonna say nothing. So yeah. Yep. So my AAU was the spark of my career. That's when I realized how good I was because I didn't know how good I was. I was just playing basketball. And now that I'm older, I realize why I was playing basketball. I was playing basketball because my father, you know what I mean? I wanted to make him proud. And because my real father wasn't in my life, I took like I was attached to my stepfather and I wanted to do everything to make him proud. But the moment it was about Zaya, I ain't let the game no more.
Yeah. It'd be like that.
And that was the transition for me.
So wait, so you played with Earl and Walter?
I played for Walt, yeah. And I came back and I was coaching with Walter when I came home.
Shout outs to Walter Welsh, man.
Good he's dude. The best.
Good dude.
He's the best. He loved the kids. When it comes to anything, when somebody asks me about an AAU team, I'm like, wherever Walt at, wherever Walter Welsh at, if your daughter really want to be top notch, take her to him.
Y'all gotta get Walt on here too, man.
You do. Yes, you do.
Walt on here.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Moving forward to your senior year, now that you've gotten all this, all this exposure, how's your recruitment looking like at this time?
Everybody wanted me except for UConn and Maryland.
Why didn't they
Those was the
recruit
only
you?
two schools. Because Maya Moore, I told you me and Maya Moore was
Oh,
the
that's
same. We
right.
played the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
position.
Right.
So Maya Moore was going there, and then Maryland, they had another young lady. And Maryland was my dream school. That's the school I really wanted to go to.
Wow.
But they had someone else that was an All-American. That's when I started understand. Well, I didn't understand at the time. I was really hurt because I wasn't too in tune with the politics. But looking back at it, it all makes sense. Like, who is this girl coming in? You know, I'm 125. I end up being top 20 in the country, top 5 in my position, and nobody knew who in less than 3 months. You know what I mean? So people looking like, who is this girl? And when it comes to politics, it don't look good because now it looks as if they're not doing their job in terms of going to get the, in terms of making sure the right people are in a position to be successful. But now it's easy. Social media, you know what I mean? It's so much easier to recruit compared to when I was in school. So yeah, everybody was recruiting me. But I knew I was an ACC player.
So yeah, you were talking earlier about how you guys got disqualified from the state tournament. What went wrong?
Somebody snitched. We played since we was top in the country. We was ranked top in the country, and we was number 1 in the state, easy, hands down. And one of the schools, can't say no name, one of the coaches went back and told them, because our athletic director, he was just there for the interim, like he wasn't going to be there for long. He really didn't know too much about being an athletic director at the time. We're talking about Newark. We talking about Newark here, okay?
Right.
So be mindful. So we played too many regular season games because we was going out the country. Well, we was going out the state to play. So when it comes to the state rules and guidelines, you can't play, like you can't go into the states playing a certain amount of games or disqualify you. And somebody, sent them a letter.
Wow.
And told them that they need to look at our schedule because they don't think we qualify to be in the states.
Yo, that's crazy, man. And I'm sure you guys.
And I was the only senior.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. How do you do that? Wow. That just goes to show. That just goes to show how petty adults can really be. Yo, that's crazy.
I know.
I know that was heartbreaking. Hurt. So how far into the playoffs was that? Was this before the playoffs started?
It was right before the playoffs started. They was seeding everybody in terms of where everybody would be.
So they figured, we gotta get them out the way.
Before, yep. Because we was gonna win. We was definitely, like, hands down, everybody knew we was gonna win because the team who won the TOC, we beat them in the Christmas tournament and we beat them in the county. So it was supposed to be ours. But it was cool. I still got player of the year in the state. I ain't playing the states, but I got player of the year. So that just goes to show you that still in all, nobody was better than me.
Shout outs to the Malcolm X Shabazz graduating class of 2007.
That's right. 07, baby. But they made me feel special though. They retired my jersey while I was still in school.
Oh wow. So you walk into the gym right now, your number will still be there. Amazing.
I was in school walking into the gym and my jersey was up there. My senior year. That was dope.
No ceremony, no nothing.
No, we had a ceremony and everything.
Okay.
I just thought it was amazing the fact that they felt like I deserved that much. You know what I mean? So early. You know what I mean? Ain't no telling what I'm gonna do when I graduate. But they already knew that I was gonna, do right by the school. And I did. I actually went back and started coaching. So it's like they knew before I did.
So let's move on to your decision. What made you decide to choose Georgia Tech?
Coach Mesa. She was like, she always made me feel, how can I say, she was always honest and she always made me feel like it was genuine. You know what I mean? A lot of coaches, I felt like they were just telling me what I wanted to hear. You know what I mean? And with her, it was more so like, listen, I ain't about to sit here and sugarcoat nothing. I ain't about to sit here and act like it's peaches and cream. This is what it is. This is what it's not. Coach Joe is a little crazy, but I think you can manage. And you know, they came to Shabazz. And those are the only coaches that actually pulled up to my school and was in the lunchroom with me chilling. Like, come on, I was at Shabazz. We was dodging bullets every day after school. You understand what I'm saying? And you got these women coming from Atlanta, Georgia, to come to the hood to see me, and that made me feel special. I always, you know, I'm a Leo. I like attention, so
Libra.
they gave me, you know, you're a Libra, okay. So
that's why we clicking.
Coach, yeah.
So
yeah,
talk about, you know, going to G Tech. What was it? What was that experience like? Like you're going to school in Atlanta, Georgia. You know, like it's like Atlanta's the hot spot. You know, you have the HBCUs on the other side of town. The Atlanta Dream, the Atlanta Hawks, the Atlanta Falcons, the Atlanta Braves. Like everything is going on, and the hip hop, you know, and everything is popping down there. Like, what was it like going down there for the 2 years that you were at G Tech?
I'm gonna be honest. That's why I had to leave. It was too hot. You know what I mean? You're talking about a young lady, 17 years old, you know, going to college in the middle of Atlanta, you know, by the HBCU. So, and you're talking about a chick from the hood who never been really out. So when I got a little freedom, at first I was a little homesick, but once I was able to adjust, I started getting into the Atlanta life. And I start, you know, as a kid, you start losing focus. Don't get me wrong, I was still doing my numbers on the court, but it was taken away from my academics. And I would definitely say my freshman year was a rude awakening because I came from a school who didn't even have all the pages in the book to one of the top engineer schools in the country to now having to write papers where I don't think I ever wrote. They want me to write a 10-page paper. I don't think I ever wrote a paper a day of my life when I was at Shabazz. You know what I mean? So that was a hard transition for me. And then to come to find out that I had a learning disability. And I didn't know that until I got to college. Wow. I knew I had a problem, but I didn't know how serious it was until I got to college. But I was at Shabazz. Nobody ever taught us, you know what I mean? Nobody ever said it was a problem because there was so many of us who had a problem that they just brushed it under the rug, which is why I went back to teach in the school system, to coach, to give back, you know, to see if I can do something different.
And that's the thing, like a lot of these inner city schools, you know how we all know how it is, you know, they won't tell, sometimes they won't even tell the families that there's something wrong with the child as a way to not alienate them or to get funding from the city. You know what I'm saying? They got to do what they got to do to keep the funding going. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's crazy that it took you all the way to college till you got into college to find out that you had a disability.
Yes. Because I failed my first semester in the summer. I had F, and my coach was like, "Something ain't right. You know, you going to class. You know, you got tutors, but something ain't right." And when they gave me that test, and they realized what was wrong with me in terms of my disability, they started to accommodate me, and I ended up being on honor roll that next semester.
Wow. That's no, that's big right there. You went from failing summer school to going to being an honor roll student, like quick. That's amazing.
But I'm gonna say this, and I'm not going to say a lot of the classes. I think because I failed so many, not necessarily failed, but I failed my classes in the summer. I think they kind of made my schedule a little more easier for me to make sure that I can adjust in terms of slowly compare. You know what I mean? So because of the class, the classes were still a little difficult, but you know, I want to say it started to be more challenging my sophomore year. So they was giving me the baby steps, the steps that I was supposed to get in high school, in middle school, I didn't get. They kind of gave it to me in college. So I ended up being like a C average student.
Damn.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about on the court. Talk about your 2 years on the court.
Okay, well, I started my freshman year. Um, it's funny because I talked to Coach Mesa a couple months ago because I was telling her that I was shifting over to do something different than basketball, and she was like, "Do you know you was the first All American that Georgia Tech, like the first All American that ever committed to Georgia Tech?" And I was like, "Really?" And she was like, "Yes." I said, "I did not know that." She said, "Yeah." She said, "Why you think she was so sick that you left?" But anyway, long story. Let me just tell you the story.
All right.
So with that being said, I started my freshman year because like she said, I was the first All American, so I came in, kind of killing. Like, I was kind of eating easy, not necessarily easy, but I was doing my thing in terms of, putting myself in a position to let them know that I was hungry and I wanted to be here.
Mhm.
So my freshman year was good. I wanted to average like 9 points. They had me playing a four. And I was
Wow.
playing against yeah, I was playing against like when we played North Carolina, like when we was playing some of the top schools, um, they always gave me compliments like, yo, you're gonna be good. But I wanted to tell them, you don't understand what I got going on outside of this court because I was still battling with knowing I had a learning disability and I was always trying to fit in when
Mhm.
everybody else was already, they was already accustomed to it. So it was a hard transition, but I always took my frustration out on the court. So whoever was on the court, I would compete against them and take my anger out on them because I couldn't really blend in with everybody else off the court.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Wow. So you had some
Yeah.
good numbers your sophomore year. 11.1 and then 5.4 rebounds.
Mhm. Yeah. My sophomore year, yeah. It was fun. When it comes to playing basketball, it was definitely it was fun and it was a great journey. You know what I mean? It was the best thing that could have happened to me because ain't no telling what I would have done if I wouldn't have picked up a basketball. I wanted to be a cheerleader. I thought I was going to be, and it just didn't fit my character in terms of who I was. But yeah, but I was doing so much damage off the court. I had to transfer.
Yeah.
Um,
And that can
yeah, like
happen
I
to
was
a
going. I had a
lot of yeah. That can happen to a lot of people. Like like you said, when you go away to school for the first time, you're away from home, far away from home, and you got all this freedom.
You don't know what to do.
Yeah. And then you go to a big town like Atlanta. That's if you're not well, what's the
Self
word I'm
discipline.
yeah, if you don't have that discipline to moderate what you do, that's a recipe for disaster.
Yep.
I went to college in a very oh, I went to a school in Syracuse too, OCC,
Okay.
on the other side of town. And I was doing bad academically over there. The only thing was they had no meal plan, so they had us starving over there. Yeah, so I either probably stole food from my roommates or I probably like my mom's had to send me care packages. Like things was bad, so I had to get out of there after one semester. And then I went to another school called SUNY Delhi, where I almost got my associates, but that's a whole nother story. But yeah, like we had there was parties. There was pretty much everything, like everything you experienced in Atlanta, we experienced in a small town. But we would go like 30 minutes away to another town called Oneonta. So the party life when I was in SUNY Delhi was crazy. But even then, like it was a lot. It was easy to self destruct if you didn't have the discipline. Yeah.
And I could go on and on and on. I can't listen. My time in Atlanta was fun. Like it was fun and it was needed because it helped me become the woman I am today. And everything, looking back, everything makes sense in terms of the way my life was planning out. I look back and I'm like, wow, God, you really did a lot of work with me. And in the process, I didn't even realize it.
Hmm.
But the moment he took my father away from me, I want to say maybe about 7, 8 months before he took my dad away from me is when things started to become a little more clearer, and that's when I realized the reason I picked up a basketball was for my father. But back then, here I am being rebellious, going out and doing this, not realizing I was looking for attention. You know what I mean? And I was looking for attention from my father, but he was so focused on Isaiah. Like, looking back, it makes sense. But at the time, I was blaming everything else. But
wow. Yeah, I mean, my little brother's 14 years younger than me. So don't worry, I feel this. I know how you felt. Sometimes I felt the same way coming up. But then again, he was born premature, so he needed a little bit more attention than I did.
Yeah. And the thing is, I really didn't need the attention, but because now that I'm older, I realized I had abandonment issues because of my father, my real father. You know what I mean? So I was dealing with other issues, but not realizing until I got grown. You know what I mean? Then I started accepting it for what it was, but at the time it didn't make sense. But now that it makes sense, I understand why I am where I am today, and I understand what God has planned for me moving forward in terms of my purpose.
Well put.
If I didn't go through that, I wouldn't have known.
So what made you decide to transfer to Syracuse?
Syracuse, my brother, Isaiah was doing really well. I wanted to come closer to home so I could actually watch him. It was a drive away. Well, it's a 4-hour drive, but to me it wasn't nothing. But so I used to try to, sneak and see him play. And then not only that, Syracuse boys at the time was number 1 in the country. And I knew that I knew I didn't love basketball anymore, but I also knew that I had someone watching me. When I transferred, I was done. But I knew I couldn't stop. You know what I mean? Because I had someone looking up to me. So when I made that decision, it wasn't just for me, but I knew Syracuse would have helped my brother. So he used to come up there and visit me a lot. And I just wanted him to see the difference in someone just playing and someone trying to be an All-American. Wesley Johnson was there. Deion Waiters was there. Michael Carter-Williams was there. You know what I mean? I've been around enough guys that play in the NBA to know what my brother was looking for. So I made that sacrifice, for not necessarily made a sacrifice because I wanted to. I had no choice but to go back. But in terms of what schools I picked, I think my brother had a big impact on that because I needed him around people that can help him, change his thought process. And he used to come up there and visit me and would leave me and go with the boys team. But that made me feel good because at the time Tyler was living with us because they was at St. Benedict's together. They was at St. Benedict's together. So they used to come up there together. And this is when Tyler was already talking about committing to Syracuse.
Wow. Yeah. Tyler Ennis was legit. He was a really good, he could really ball. It's just a shame that he didn't last very long in the NBA. I thought he was good. I really thought he was good. But I mean, he's making money overseas now. So
he got a family. He's doing well. You know what I mean? He took advantage of his opportunity. You know what I mean? He didn't get discouraged when he got cut or whatever from the NBA. But when it comes down to it, it's all about politics. Because if we get into the NBA and what my brother and I did, this conversation is going completely left. And I'm gonna need another glass of wine.
No, that's cool.
No, seriously, because when it comes to politics, like you said, there's so many kids out here that's really good. You know what I mean? And the fact that it's still.
Yeah. But a lot of people, they get the short end of the stick, unfortunately.
Yeah. So that was one of my biggest that was my reason. And Coach Q was cool. He was an African American man, you know what I mean? He was down to earth, he was from the hood, I felt like he could relate to me a little more. And the fact that the boys team was already good, I was like, all right, it's fine. It's cool. In the dome, everything in terms of the university is beautiful too. Don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? That played a big part too. And I heard it was a party school. You know what I mean? And I still had a little party in me. I slowed down because I had so much fun in Atlanta. So when I got to Syracuse, my thought process was a little different. I still had fun. I was still, I still enjoyed myself in college, but it wasn't as serious as it was when I was at Georgia Tech.
How did it feel playing, even though y'all didn't get as much as the men's team, as much like people as far as attendance? Like, how was it playing in the Carrier Dome?
It was amazing. It was amazing, but granted, it was empty a little bit. But the fact that I was playing in a football field was, in a football arena, it was amazing. You know what I mean? So it was cool. We had a couple of crowds, like when UConn would come. You know what I mean? When certain schools would come, we'd have a certain crowd. But it was definitely a great experience. Even when I watched it, when I watched the games on TV, now I'm like, yo, I really played there. Like, man, like I really played in the dome, and I was killing too. And I was killing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I think it's so crazy how the boys team is not doing so well, and the girls are now. The girls are top in the country. Syracuse girls is top in the country.
Well, Boeheim is he's getting up there in age, man. But I mean, yeah, they still getting some players, but hey, times have changed.
That's my point. Times have definitely changed.
And then when
times change when UConn girls not number one no more.
Tell me about it. Like, in your 2 years, how many wins did y'all have against them?
UConn?
Yeah.
None.
Damn.
We ain't never beat them.
Damn.
Never. Every time we played UConn, I was very selfish, and I just knew I had to get 20 plus. Yeah. Like, however you look at it, I just knew I had to kill them, and that's what I did every year. I would kill them, only because I knew, it would be hard to win. So one thing for certain, two things for sure, you'll never make me look bad.
And you got to play in the Big East when you were at Cuse. This is before the ACC, and Coach Hillsman, he had a better record. Yeah, he has a better record now than when he was in the Big East. He got more wins in the ACC, so I guess that move benefited him. That move benefited the women's program.
I wish we would have played in the ACC back when I was in school. I want to say 2 years after I graduated is when they switched over. But yeah, my college career was definitely amazing. Yeah.
So what was as we already mentioned, Syracuse is a top 5 party school in the nation. Like, what were the concerts like? Cause I know y'all got the end of the year concert at Cuse. What's the name of it? I forgot.
I don't know. I know we used to have a spring concert.
Fresh Fest or something like that?
It was something. It's something that I don't remember. But it wasn't the end of the year. It was always be like the beginning of the year or like around spring, because it was always nice outside. I know what you're talking about, but Wale came, Meek Mills came, Big Sean came. Like, they all would pop up.
Mayfest. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, Mayfest. Mayfest was always lit.
Mayfest. Yeah. That's it.
That year, so 2014. No, wait, no, it wasn't 2014. It was 20. No, well, yeah, when I was at Delhi, I went to check out Mayfest. So outside on the lawn, they had ASAP Ferg. And then when we went inside the Carrier Dome later that night, I got to see 2 Chainz in live and direct. So that was lit right there. But yeah,
we definitely lit. Syracuse was definitely lit.
Yeah. Yep. Shout outs to the Syracuse University graduating class of 2012.
Yes.
So after college, so what did you do like straight after school was done?
I was with the Liberty.
Oh, you got
And
drafted.
no, they picked me up. I went to training camp. I didn't get drafted. I didn't get drafted because I was an undersized post. That's the first thing they said. They said you was an undersized post, and because Q kept me at the 4 instead of putting me at the 3, they didn't draft me, but they brought me in for training camp. And but like still no, I just feel like it's a whole bunch of BS to make you feel good. They ended up cutting me and said that they don't want to pay me to play a position that they never saw me play before, which is the 3. I was too small to play the 4 in the WNBA. So I didn't love it no more anyway. So once I got cut, I went overseas for like a half a year or a year, and then I stopped. Like I played professional only to show that I could do it, but I really didn't love it no more. You know what I mean? But the fact that I played in the NBA and I went overseas, it's like, Isaiah, what you going to do? I don't went to college. I didn't play. But the moment he became the number 1 player in the country, I stopped. The number 1 point guard, I'm sorry. The moment he became the number 1 point guard in the country, that's when I stopped. I was like, I am done. My job as a sister is done.
Nah, but I think honestly, yeah, that it always comes to a certain point where people stop loving the game, and it seems like after Georgia Tech, you know, from what you were saying, like it seemed like the game had gotten all that it could out of you, and then Cuse was just like the victory lap.
Yep. To get this guy, my mother wanted me to get a degree. My mother wanted me to get a degree, and then on top of that, my brother was about to go to college. So, well, he was, looking at, Zay was at all my visits.
Yeah, you said Isaiah was in all the visits?
Yeah, Isaiah went to all my visits. Isaiah went to all my AAU games. He was at my Nike All-American game. You know what I mean? He experienced all of this when he was in the 8th grade before he even thought about college.
That's amazing. But yeah, like I feel like the WNBA, they need to pay the women a lot more. Yeah, like I feel like they need to pay the women a lot more, because it's like it's a shame that they have to go all the way overseas just to earn more money.
To make money.
Yeah. Even though it's good money across the water, still though. Like you guys, like y'all, they play in like major and big, the same arenas that the NBA teams playing. So it's like,
and we work hard just as much as them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We put in just as much work. And to be honest, we probably got to do it 10 times more because our bodies are not naturally built to be an athlete. Mm-hmm. And people don't even acknowledge that we are built to carry kids. Like we have to force our bodies to adjust. You know what I mean? We not naturally fit like men. Mm-hmm. And that's what they don't appreciate in society. Don't get me started. Which is why I was like, I can't. You guys disrespect the game. I'm not about to be working my butt off. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And y'all just slapping us in the face. No, it's other routes. Mm-mm.
So wait, where did you play professionally overseas?
I was in Luxembourg and Australia.
How were the experiences over there?
Luxembourg was cold as shit. But Australia, I didn't want to leave, but I told my meniscus. And when I told my meniscus, yeah, that's because they had me play right off the plane. So I took a 24-hour flight. Wow. And we had a game at 8:00. And me being such a competitor, I was like, I'll play, not knowing I'm jet lagged. And I think I told my meniscus that day, but I continued to play the whole season. And I want to say the last game, like the final game, that's when it was really, really bad. But I just made it worse over time. So my mom didn't want me to get surgery over there. But if I would have got surgery in Australia, I probably would have stayed in Australia and I probably would have continued to play. But the moment I got on that flight and came home to do surgery and I got comfortable with being home and I seen how my brother was killing, I was like, I'm not going back. I said,
a
and I
good
get to watch my
choice.
brother, and I get to watch my brother play his last year. I was in heaven. I missed all those years. I could only see him on, like, you don't understand how stressed out I was trying to watch his games online overseas. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I don't even want to be here. I don't even want to be here. I
At
be
least you
there
got
with
to
him.
see you. Yeah, I mean, I remember like watching Isaiah back in the day was an event. It was an event. Like the big strict. I was there the day he scored the 61 points at Tri-State. You know what I'm saying? Like I got to see him. I want to say, was I at the Jordan Brand Classic? Yeah, yeah. Jordan Brand Classic at the Barclays. Um, I remember the day he actually committed to Kentucky. So that day I got caught cheating on an exam, and I had to go do a meeting with the chancellor, I think, or something like that. And then the teacher for that same class had us take an exam that day. I'll never forget. And before I started to take that test, I looked at my phone and it said that Isaiah committed to Kentucky, which was amazing.
And I
And
was there for their first year.
then and I remember, I think it might have been the first or the second year when they were at the Barclays when he scored 2 points against Ohio State. Was I think that was the first year. I was there sitting way up top in the bleachers in like the nosebleeds. But you know, there was a whole lot of media people there that day, so they had to seat me somewhere. So
And I didn't miss a game. I was working that year. He was at, so I was there his senior year, and then his freshman year at Kentucky. I probably didn't miss a game. I was traveling, I was flying. I had a full-time job, my first full-time job ever. I didn't care. I was
mhm,
like, whatever. I'm going to visit my brother. I'll do a job when I come back. I
mhm.
was there for they win when they won the SEC tournament. I was in Tennessee by myself. I'm like, none of y'all going. I'm out. I'm leaving. But I was
Wow.
right there because I missed so much. So I couldn't go another beat without it. Like
So
I lost
move.
my job doing it. I lost
Wow.
my job, but it was cool because
Wow.
now I run my own business. I shouldn't have been working for nobody in the first place.
Yeah,
But
that's
nah,
crazy.
but it was a good experience though. I was young, you know. Hmm.
So let's talk about Iasia the coach. Now you coach for the Sparks, you coach for iExcel. You know, talk about those experiences.
Um, I coached for PlayHer too. I don't know if you're familiar with them. Um, but it was definitely a great experience. I learned a lot in terms of being an adult compared to when I was a player. Um, it bothers me. Well, it don't really bother me, but it's a little uncomfortable to see a lot of these AAU programs being ran by men, girl
Mm,
programs.
right.
Uh, um, it bothers me a little bit, and I really felt like when I was coaching, I felt like I could do so much more than just coaching. When I was coaching with the AAU programs, um, so that's why I kind of was hopping from program to program because one program will only use me for a coach, and then the next program will only use me in terms because I'm an All-American or whatever the case is. But
Basically, you
when
were
I
a
got
name.
and they took advantage. No,
Wow.
I'm not going to say they took advantage, but they put me in a position to help their program compared to putting me in a position to help me. You know
Right.
what I mean? And I get it because it's a business. But when I got with Walter, that's when I realized that I had so much more to offer the girls than just
Your name.
basketball in my name. So I end up being a transformational coach. So basically, not only do I help, and that's my nonprofit, She Got Skills. Um, so I'll do more of the stuff off the court in terms of building a climate and culture, in terms of building that foundation, having some type of um I can't even get the word out. Um, having some type of like basically having a relationship outside of the court. So I'll be more like I enjoy doing like little events, you know, taking them bowling, having a fashion show, you know, doing little big sister, little sister mentorship, you know what I mean? The things that most programs don't do because they so focused on the girls only playing basketball. So when I got with Walter is when I realized that I had so much more to offer than just basketball. So I started trying it. And in the process of me trying it is how I ended up building my own nonprofit.
That's amazing. So She Got Skills. Talk a little bit more about She Got Skills.
So She Got Skills is basically a platform for young ladies who got more than just basketball skills. You know what I mean? It's for girls like myself. Like, you know, like I said, I was a cheerleader. I'm into fashion. You know, I'm very comfortable with who I am as a woman. But when you see me, you automatically assume I'm all about basketball. No, I like fashion. I like to dance. You know what I mean? I love basketball. I love doing massages. You know what I mean? You got so many other avenues that you can utilize in terms of being an athlete to let them know that you got skills and it don't have to be just one. So many girls think it's okay just to have that one skill. No, boo-boo. You don't. And don't be ashamed that you got multiple gifts neither. So my program is to put young ladies in a position to be comfortable with everything that they do. I'm a twerker. I like to shake my butt. Guess, and I love the Lord. But that's not going to change who I am. You know what I mean? So having that confidence in yourself, that self is amazing. And a lot of young girls don't have it. And I think it's going to help them in terms of that mental health going to college. Because so many girls get discouraged because we do everything based off our emotions and we try to hide it. But at the same time, it's hurting us. So if I'm putting, you know, these conversations and these mentorships and these surveys and all the things that I was doing, it helped them open their mind to so much more than just basketball. You know what I mean? What's your purpose for playing basketball? Because when I realized my purpose was for my father, the moment he started giving me the love, I stopped. So guess what? When you stop loving the game, what's your next mission? Because so many times when you stop playing basketball, so many people that play ball, once they stop, they have nowhere to go or they don't know what they want to do. But because they never put themselves in a position to do something outside of basketball, that's what they're comfortable with doing. So they just stick to that.
Right. They don't have any life skills neither. Like, you know what I'm saying? Nothing that would, or at least stuff that would be applicable to a job. And that's sad. Like, you see so many dudes that, you know, that you come up, so many people that you come up with, they were this and that in ball. Now 10 years later, you know what I'm saying, they struggling trying to find a job, can't find a job. You know what I'm saying? They don't know what to do. They still at the street ball tournaments trying to relive their glory days when they were teenagers. It's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, my mission is to basically be a game changer. You know what I mean?
Got to change the game to let them know it's more to life than just basketball.
Well put. Now let's talk about one of the main reasons why we decided to join up tonight. Lady Eye massages. When did that start?
Hold on, I can't hear you. My headphones out. Hold on, let me go. Hello.
Yeah. So Lady Eye massages. When did that come about?
To be honest, during COVID.
Yeah.
During COVID. Hold on. I don't know why. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I can hear you now too. I couldn't hear you that clear. Yeah, during COVID. So before COVID hit, I already knew that I wanted to go back to school, but I thought I was going to go back to school to get my master's, and I was going to stay in the school system and be an athletic director. So I was like, you know, I'm gonna go back to school. You know, I'm gonna stay with the kids. You know, I'm gonna do what's necessary for the kids. And when COVID hit, and I couldn't be in the schools anymore because I love my job. Like I was the program and partnership coordinator. So I ran all the programs. in the school, not necessarily ran, but overlooked a lot of the programs in the school. And when they came to partners, they would talk to me in terms of how, how they can contribute to the school in terms of money and, putting programs together to help the kids. But massaging always been something I love to do, but I will only do it for my significant others or my friends or, on a low.
Mm-hmm.
And during COVID, yeah, because I didn't want nobody else touching my significant other, so I was really good.
You ain't never get no complaints.
So, not never. Everybody, people always tell me, like, Asia, your hands are special. Like, those are healing hands. And I'm like, no, they not. Whatever. Be gassing me up. You know what I mean? So I always pushed it to the side. Like, I never really paid attention to it, but I enjoy making people feel good. Like, that's always been something that's always been me, So, like, all my life, I always wanted to take care of people. I always wanted to make people feel good. I always want to put smiles on people's face. Like, I'm just a giver. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, so during COVID, I was contemplating on what business I wanted to start. If it was going to be me starting to open a daycare, like that's what I really wanted. I wanted to open up a daycare, and I was like, I just started praying, and I was meditating during COVID, just cleansing myself, during quarantine. And I want to say, me and God, we do a lot of talking in the shower, and it came to me, and he was like, you need to, you really need to start your business. And the moment he said that, I started putting forth the effort to see, how I would start it. And I went away. I have a habit of just leaving and, leaving the state. And I left the state for like a month. I traveled a little bit just to cleanse my mind. That's very therapeutic for me. And when I came back, I said on my birthday is when I'm going to launch my massage business. I didn't have a name. I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew God told me I had to start my business. And I started it without a name. And that's how I ended up with Lady I Massage Better, because everybody that came here was like, yo, you are the best. And I was like, you know what? Lady I Massage. Like, because my name is Iasia. I consider myself a lady, you know what I mean? And I know how to massage. So it worked out for me.
That's a name that fits right there.
Yeah. So when I launched it, I was kind of shocked at the at the responses that I was receiving, or even the support. It was a lot of support from people I just was friends with on social media. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's just been growing since. I was like, wow. Because I started school. I want to say I started school the moment he said it. I started school. I went and I applied for school. And when I applied for school, the lady who was my she was the director of the program. I mean, of administration. She was the director, and she her name was Iasia, spelled the same and everything. And that's when yeah. Like when I tell you, God really worked in mysterious ways.
You do.
Like he is the best. He is the best thing that ever happened to me. Like I didn't start really going to church until 2 years ago, and this was 7 months before my dad passed. And I think God knew how important it was for me to have him in my life in the process of me dealing with my dad having cancer. So all of it just, and I used to massage my father when he had cancer. When he was in high, I would massage his leg for hours. And I didn't even think that I was going to end up being a massage therapist, but I'm getting a little emotional, but
it's okay.
Yeah.
I know he's watching over you, right? You and your brothers and sister right now. But yeah, he's watching over you guys. You, your sister, and your brother. So.
And I got another brother.
Oh, so it's 4 of you.
His name is George Briscoe. He's a junior.
Wow. Wow, that's crazy.
So we're a year apart. That's my stepbrother. But I would be damned if anybody, but that's George. son. My
So it's-
stepfather, that's his son.
So it's,
Just to get it clear, but in
mhm,
all actuality, blood can't make us no better. That is my brother. But
mhm,
on the technical part of it, but that's my
right.
stepbrother. So that's
Because
Isaiah and
y'all were all
Aisha.
raised in the same house.
Yeah, since we were 4. I was 4, he was 3.
Wow. So you the oldest.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So it's you,
Yeah,
George, Aisha, and Isaiah's the youngest.
Isaiah's the baby. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
But nobody really know about him because he was gone for a while. You know what I
mhm,
mean? So
right.
people kind of didn't know. He was on vacation. That's
Mhm,
what we call it. He was on vacation for about 8
mhm,
years.
mhm. But yeah, he's here now, and y'all. And one thing I could see about you guys is that he's close. That y'all are close knit.
Thanks to my mom.
Yeah. Shout
Shout
outs to
out to
mom.
Mom Dukes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
your
she's
mom
the
is a great
glue.
woman. The other day, I think I seen her on IG with she had Jordans on.
Yes, it was her birthday. You seen her. Fly.
Oh, tell moms I
And
said
Zay
happy
making sure of it.
birthday.
I will.
Nah, shout outs to Mom Dukes. So, this is one of the questions that I love to ask before we get to the final question. If you could go back to 2000, 2008, in a time machine to 2008, what would you tell Aisha at 18, 19 as she's going through her learning disability in college and is navigating, the world as a college student? What advice would you give her?
Trust the process and don't get discouraged because of everybody else's life. Like, don't look at everybody else's life and think that you're supposed to fit in. You're different for a reason. Embrace it.
Mhm. Final question. What's next in the future for Iasia Hemingway and Lady Eye Massages?
Um, Hopefully, God willing, everything goes well. And it won't be Lady Eye massage, it'll be ladies massage. So hopefully, I put myself in a position where I can open up a platform to help other young ladies who want to be a massage therapist who love sports because I want to specialize in sports. So, hopefully, further down the line, it's not Lady Eye massage, it's ladies massage better. So
Mhm.
that would be the ultimate goal because, like I said, I like helping others. And if I can open my business to help other young ladies who want to help people feel better, then
Mhm.
that's the goal.
Well, Aisha, thank you for coming on tonight to share your story. And
Thank you for having me.
I wish you and Lady Eye Massages nothing but the best moving forward.
I really appreciate it. And like I said before we got on here, like you are the first one who actually like asked and actually stuck to it. Like some people will ask, but nobody really stuck to really, interview on me. So I appreciate you staying dedicated to one, your business and being committed to, making sure this got done. So
Indeed.
making sure this interview was a success. So I
Indeed.
appreciate you.
Well, everybody, this is episode 103 of Hoops Talk with Dave's Joint. Shout outs to the wonderful, beautiful Miss Iasia Hemingway for coming on to share her story. For those of you that support her, for those of y'all from Newark, New Jersey, Shabazz High School, Syracuse University, and so on, go check out this interview on YouTube, Facebook, and IGTV. Stay blessed, stay safe, peace.
Bye.
Mhm.